Hey guys, so this week on the Zach Codes podcast, I've got Marcus and Ryan with me. Marcus is a developer at Reddit. He's been working on an awesome side project. We're going to talk about AI, things Reddit's doing with AI, things he's doing at Reddit as well. So yeah, I guess Marcus, feel free to introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Marcus. I'm an engineer at Reddit. I work specifically on our developer platform team. It's a platform where you can build fun and immersive experiences and share them on Reddit, and I can tell you all about that. And beyond that, I've been doing a lot of AI stuff for the past couple years, and I have a side project that is sort of like the Lovable for voice, and you can create a voice agent with knowledge bases and soon to be tool calls in the next week. Um, where you can just build your own voice agent, give it a phone number, people can call into it. You can use it for anything that you'd like.
Awesome. So what are the main things you're trying to do with the voice agent? I know in the beginning, wasn't it also customer feedback and those sorts of things as well?
Yeah, we've been working on this space, my co-founder and I, for like, I don't know, a year, because we started experimenting with the voice stuff, and we're like, oh wow, this is really really good, and people haven't really started talking about it too much, and there wasn't a ton of uh, other companies doing stuff at the time. And if there were, they were either incredibly expensive or they were kind of difficult and unwieldy to work with. And we just wanted to, you could just like, hey, make me an order taker bot for my restaurant and just click the go button. And like have something where you can talk with it and interact with it in real times. The first iteration actually was a user assistance tool that to embed on your website. So if you're a B2B SaaS tool, really dislike the onboarding clickables. You know, the little you click next step. I've never once read one in my entire life, and they never helped me. And I'm like, man, LLMs could really do this. And we started building it, and we were doing more research. And actually, Retool, a company I really admire, they actually have one that's pretty close to what we were thinking, and we wanted to make it to where you could just embed it on any website. So you could just install this JavaScript snippet, and then you'd have this user assistance tool that would come along and give you onboarding feedback specific to what you were trying to accomplish. Because these tools have like hundreds of use cases, but that turned out to be really really difficult to pull off. We actually had a working demo that was pretty interesting. It used a lot of PostHog's open source SDK, and it used RR Web. So that you could have a Chrome extension, you could record flows, feed those into an LLM. The LLM could break it down, and then we could have an embeddable widget, and it would interpret these workflows based on what you set up as the owner of the. But you know, how do you market that? Who do you even sell to in a business? Do you sell to the product marketers? Do you sell to the sales team, customer success? I don't know. For something that was like more of like a bootstrap side hustle, it was like, what are we doing? And there's like hundreds of thousands of lines of code here under management. I don't even know what I'm doing. I've just used AI for most of it. So then we like uh, trim that down, and something that we've felt pain points at everywhere that we've worked is getting customer feedback, and customers feedback specifically on like product led tools. So if you're working at a larger company and your annual contract value is like 10,000 plus, well, you probably have a sales team, you probably have customer success. Like there's always touch points with the customer, but like these product led tools of where you could have like churn of thousands of users a week, like Netflix or a Notion, something like that, there's no world where they could scale human outreach to that. So the thought was like, well, they may not be able to scale human outreach, but LLMs are really good at being able to talk to a user in a really nice and friendly way, but also be able to get some quantitative insights from all the qualitative data. So we chased that for like 3 months. And through that, we built some really interesting voice infrastructure that worked pretty well. And then we started interviewing people. And even though I think that we were probably directionally right, that I think that a lot of user research eventually will be LLM assisted. I don't think that it's going to like completely take everyone's jobs. I'm not one of those people. But I do think that would really help scale outreach more than they can currently do, and help the researchers do things in a different way. But we talked to a lot of people. It kind of sounded like more of a vitamin, not a painkiller. And we sort of wanted something that was like going to get more traction faster. And we just kept, that was like our second go at it. And it's just really hard to like look at a dartboard of all the opportunities that you have now with AI and just like, yeah, I'm gonna try this one. Nope, I'm gonna try this one because each one is like 3 months. So you're like, okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna get incredibly broad. We're gonna go as broad as humanly possible. We're just gonna build level for voice, and we're gonna send out a bunch of cold emails. We're gonna be pretty loud about it. We're gonna make it to where anyone can use it. We're gonna make the pricing to where it's really, really competitive, if not some of the best pricing that you can find, and make it usage based and let the use cases come to us. And eventually we'll find one, hopefully, that is really interesting. And then we'll double down on it and then we'll go vertical. But starting completely vertical and then trying to go and just like diagnose our problem in an industry that, like, yeah, you have some experience in, but you're by no means an expert, proved to be really difficult, which is probably obvious to a lot of people that would be listening to this, but um, good lesson learned, you know?
So you started off with like customer feedback. Now it seems like you're marketing towards knowledge bases. So it seems like, are you making this pretty generic and you're trying to just test out different sort of like marketing niches for what you could use it for, and when one hits, you're gonna go down that path?
Yeah. Yeah. That's sort of how we've approached it so far. So we're focused on building the core primitives needed to build a full stack agent framework, whether that's for sales tools, support, any industry function. But you can think like there's a million things where phone calls are still how you do things. One example, there's a startup around that I would anticipate is doing really well. I don't have any information, but they do AI voice for car servicing. So if you ever need to call and get your car service and schedule, there's a voice agent that does that, handles all the inbound, does tool calls to get the actual availability through APIs. And I would say it's probably a net better experience. And it also lets people that are working the front desk or the mechanics who are busy doing other things free up to do tasks that they're probably more excited about doing than like scheduling and doing logistics. And I think there's going to be a ton of tools like that. And there's a lot of really interesting bespoke cases of where people still either have to call people or it's just easier to use your voice to set something up. So we
Mm.
currently have the voice infrastructure. We have it where you can like customize your voice. You can put in your own custom prompt, we have knowledge bases, and you can buy your own phone number in the app. But this has been more of an effort than I anticipated. We're actually building a tool calling system, but not only is it going to be just like you can add a tool and it's a HTTP request, which is like really difficult and unwieldy to do in a GUI, in my opinion. We're also going to make sure you integrate like HubSpot, Cal.com, Calendly, any of like your typical tools that you would want to use. And we have it working pretty well. And it's kind of interesting that we actually make it all work over MCP in our own system. So I don't know if there's a world where people that use our tool will eventually want a service and events MCP endpoint, but we actually kind of give them one for free if they want it. And there's also an API and an SDK. So I don't know. We've went really, really broad. Since we've went broad, we've had to go broad on the primitives. But I'd say in the next like month or two, my co-founder and I would be really excited about all the things that you can do. And there'll probably be like a ton of crazy demos you'll see me share on my X profile and stuff.
That's cool. I love the concept of always like almost meta programming, building a tool for your own system, but then you also offer it to your users. One question for some of the stuff from before I hand it over to Ryan, I just had a thought in my head. What if I called into a knowledge base? I want to vet the company, see if it's a useful company for me. Say I ask it 5 questions. Is it possible that one of those questions I ask, maybe I get a slightly hallucinated answer? Are you testing for this, figuring out ways around that, or any thoughts just in general about that happening?
Yeah, I think when you're dealing with any of these non-deterministic styles tools, so all of generative AI, you're going to have some probability. I'm never going to say like there's a 0% chance, but there are some tricks that you can do to make it to where it will always call in to the tool and hit the knowledge base, do some like RAG style lookup, and feedback a fairly friendly answer. And you can also kind of dial that back a little bit if you want to where it can still have knowledge of the outside world. But if the user asks about your specific company or the trade that you're selling, then it can be pretty good. We haven't invested a ton yet, just because we're early. We're trying to get the primitives down. So we're focused like more on not like the most important phone calls that you would make. Like I still think a human needs to be in the loop there. But there's eval frameworks that you can also adopt. And certain models are much better at instruction following and tool calling than others. So we have chosen to adopt a model that is much better at tool calling. But eventually, my vision for where I see a lot of this stuff going is once we find really interesting use cases, we'll probably fine tune and use open source models and host them on something like Grok with a Q. And I think that'll give like really good feedback, but also performance, because performance is so crucial with voice. Yeah, you only have 300 or 400 milliseconds before it's like, yo, what's up, bro? Turn detection is another super complicated problem, which there's some really smart people working on it. Those people are not me. I just hope to consume their knowledge or their open source tool. But yeah, there's a lot of complicated parts to doing like stuff with voice.
Definitely. Ryan, do you have anything you want to ask or add?
Yeah, yeah. There's so much that I would love to dive into, but just on your initial kind of like idea of Alchemine, right, and this voice agent, I can definitely see how it can apply to like existing industries today. I can see how it can apply to small businesses, if I'm calling down the street to the pizza shop and I want to put in an order. I can't tell you how many times it happens to me that I get a busy signal because they've got one phone line, right? And you're just like, well, I'd like to place a pizza order, but if they're talking to another customer, that conversation might take 3 to 5 minutes. I'm just sitting there like redialing, trying to put my order in. But there's a very simple world, especially with how easy it looks in your app. Like one prompt, and you have already got your agent scaffolded out, deployed. You can start using it. This pizza shop could just say, take in the customer's thing, get the order, print it out, so that we can, just take in that order. And we don't have to be on that phone anymore. And we can just be doing the stuff that we need to do. So I could see it on like that small scale, but I could also see it on like just larger scales, like call centers, things like that, how it could be a much more intelligent front for taking of those calls. I know that for me personally, one of my largest frustrations is every time I feel like I hit an automated system today, I'm just basically constantly saying, give me a representative. But most of the time, I feel like that's because the question that I'm asking it's not easy. I feel like when you call in, they're like, well, would you like your balance or would you like, some basic information that I could find out online myself very easily? It's like, no, I'm calling because I have a complex question that can't be answered normally. But I think that LLMs, like you're using in your app here today, can actually do some of these more complex interactions like you were talking about with like the Calendly integration or the cal.com integration or HubSpot CRM, because now you're able to use MCP to do these, unique interactions, resolve a complex query from your user and actually answer it and do it all with the voice agent, right? So I do think that's really cool. I think it's fascinating though. I am surprised with your application how fast it's able to respond back, because what you said with that like latency, like I tried it out and it does seem like it, you're talking and it does give you back a response very quickly. And I kind of want to ask you about that a little bit. Like what voice did you kind of choose for this, or how did you choose the kind of default voice for Alchemine? And did you do any optimization around it to like make it different at all? Or is it just kind of like how it comes out of the box, the one that you chose? Because I've noticed that if I ask it a question and it's a question that is not within what it's trying to do, it will kind of respond to my question, but then be kind of pushy and say, like, all right, let's get back to what we were talking about. And like it almost like stops me from like responding to what it said? So I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to the models that you choose. They all have their different quirks in the way they do things, but the instruction following of some of the newer models is so good. And I would say that like the best thing that these new models are good at is deflecting and getting back on task. Like if you give them a task and you structure your prompt with right prompt engineering, you can make it towards really, really hard for someone to like break out of it and start asking it random things and it telling them like random stories and stuff that's not a part of what you want them to do. There's also certain types of configuration as well. And there's like a whole like rabbit's hole of other things that you can do. I would say that we have built on the shoulders of giants as of right now. We use one of the bigger LLMs. We use one of the bigger voice providers. Although I will say about the voice provider stuff, we had at one time some open source voices in there that were better than what a lot of the large companies are offering as an API right now. We just don't have enough time because I'm one of the I'm not the only developer. My co-founder does code a little bit, but for the majority of it, like the support, production, and especially like some of this like really advanced tuning stuff that falls on me. And until we get like the primitives that we like, we haven't focused a ton on performance, which is kind of crazy because even today it feels pretty nice to me. Like it's fairly passable, especially when you think about like what a voice pipeline has to do. So as soon as you talk, that doesn't natively go in as bytes of audio into the LLM. I don't know if we'll ever get there. I've talked to some other like experts in the industry that are far smarter than me, and they're like, I don't know, because the tool calling and there's like a whole other can of worms and concerns that you have to think about. So that immediately goes to a text to speech service. That text to speech service then forwards stuff straight into the LLM. The LLM then is streaming stuff out to go back to speech to text. And there's a lot of weird chunking problems that you run into with like, when does the text to speech know that it's enough words for the LLM to even interpret it? Or the speech to text, sorry. Or the text to speech know to like, this is a question, so I need to ask it in a different inflection. And a lot of these problems, we've been doing it for like the past year, and the progress has been unbelievable. I know a lot of people are always talking about LLMs and how good things are and GPT. The same speed, if not more, is happening in voice right now. So there's a lot of tools that do kind of similar stuff to us. What I would take pride in and challenge people with is I think ours is the fastest from idea to talking that's out there. Now there's maybe some that are better at tool calling. There's maybe some better at certain like bespoke use cases. And I think that there's a lot of vertical tools making a ton of cash, if I had to guess. I don't have any like inside scoop there, but yeah, it's a really exciting industry to be in overall. And there's just a ton of optimizations that you can still do on top. So it's only going to get better, like universally.
Have you seen the parakeet model from NVIDIA for speech to text?
I've seen it, haven't used it yet. One model that we're really excited to try is the new Cartesia model.
Mm.
Cartesia's team is super cracked, and they just recently launched like a speech to text model. So we're
Is it
starting.
open source? I haven't seen that one.
I don't think it's open source. It's like a over the API, but they have a really sweet API too, so that's good.
I
Nice.
only mentioned it because I use voicing because I like that it's all local to do speech to text. And recently they added that parakeet model. I've been so shocked because it's so much smaller than Whisper Large and it's really fast and I find it really accurate.
Yeah. And if anything, that's been something that we've struggled a little bit with is our transport layer is over WebRTC. So that's pretty good. It's lossy when you go into like a subway because it goes over UDP, which is really nice. But we've noticed that any time that one of the calls doesn't go super well, it's never the LLM's fault and it's never the text to speech model. It's the speech to text model that for some reason isn't interpreting things right. And we've traced it down to like, I think a lot of it has to do with how it's chunking up the text to figure out what the words were said. Because if we get the call recording, we'll put the call recording in the exact service and it'll come out perfect. We're like, okay, this is interesting. Or it could just be a bug in our software or something. But yeah, there's a lot of like tuning that can be done. So it's really exciting to see, kind of where things will be as an industry, but also for Alchemine specifically in the next 3 months.
So you're using Cartesia currently. Their site looks pretty cool. Seems like they have a super fast
Yeah,
models.
all the voice providers have the sickest websites.
Their
Cartesia
logo
really sweet
animates. It's
website.
pretty cool.
Happy, which is like an API first voice startup, they have a really sweet website. Like there's so many cool websites happening in voice. So I think that we're probably like 8 to 12 months away from, everything now is like, oh, when are we going to AGI, super intelligence, Claude Code. And, a lot of the product market fit we're seeing is perfectly in coding tools, which is great because I use all of them. But I think a lot of that's going to shift to voice in the next year.
Mm.
So we're trying to build ahead, or we're trying to like build and be at the right place, right time with the easiest to use tool. With the
Okay,
right.
so you say like, voice like the next like year, right? And I certainly think like there's definitely like my older like parents generation, things like that, older people, they like using phone calls. But I also feel like younger generation almost like getting on a phone call is like anxiety inducing for them. Like do you see a world where like it's like I don't actually want to use a voice interface, and that might be a problem for like the business or.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a concern. What I fall back on, and what has been true even for me, someone that uses LLMs religiously now, is my fingers can only move so fast and my thumbs can only move so fast. So if we're talking about like token output from my brain into a computer, the fastest way to do that right now is voice. Now, maybe in 10 or 15 years, or I don't know, we'll get like some brain chip and then you'll have like thousands of tokens a second that, every thought goes straight to an LLM and then it's right back to you. And then you just can riff back and forth. But right now, voice is the fastest way. And I would encourage anyone that hasn't tried it yet, if you're coding especially, you should try some of these like you don't even have to pay for it. Like if you have a decent computer, you can run like Super Whisper or something on your machine, dictate straight into Claude Code or Cursor, and you can really get rolling pretty fast. I have it like set up as
Yeah.
the function key on my computer. I just press the function key and start yapping.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm the same way, Ryan. Have you been doing that?
So I've tried it, but the problem that I have is like when I am thinking, if I'm trying to talk at the same time, I'm constantly thinking about making mistakes with my speech or how I'm saying things. And I know that the LLM is going to decipher my intent. Well, some of the LLMs are better at deciphering intent, but I worry that like, oh no, that's not exactly. And then I'm like, okay, I got to go delete that, or I got to go fix that, or it didn't transcribe that word correctly. And now I've like lost my train of thought and thinking. So I
Mhm.
found that like, even though I want to use them, I mean, everybody's talking about using text to speech to just prompt the LLMs. I find that like I'm just typing in what my prompt is today. So maybe I can get to that point. I mean, certainly when I'm pair programming, I do that a lot. Like as I'm coding, I'm kind of dictating my thoughts and things, but I'm less concerned, I guess, about how it's being transcribed and such. Maybe I just need to ignore it, black box it.
I feel the same way as you sometimes. I've been having to think differently, and I'm slowly getting there. Like I do use it more and more, but I definitely see certain times I'm like, ah, I don't know exactly what I want to say, but I've been slowly getting better at it.
Yeah, I've had it ever since I'm a 2Xer when I watch videos on YouTube. So
Me
I've
too.
noticed that for some reason, when I type, I skip like 3 or 4 words sometimes. So that's true for actually how my thoughts come out. So I've noticed when I dictate, I want to be able to send the cursor back up somewhere else. Because when if I'm typing up like a PRD or something, I'll type out a bunch and then I'll like go up and then back, up and back, and then I'll make something bullet points. And it's really hard to do that dictating. Luckily, I found that GPT-5 is really good at just interpreting my rambles pretty well and then outputting the structure that I then send into like some coding agent.
Nice. That's awesome.
Sometimes I'll utilize the AI transcription as well to say like, oh wait, go back, delete that part while I'm talking. Other times I just will speak a little shorter, like I'll say one sentence and then think real quick, say another one, because that function key is there and it's so fast.
Yeah. One other thing I'll say, and this is sort of interesting. I haven't tried it yet because I'm in New York and I don't have a car anymore. But a friend of mine was talking about how if he's in like a long car ride by himself, instead of putting on a podcast, he'll just use ChatGPT audio mode and he'll have like a build your own podcast and just talk to it back and forth for the whole car ride about like random things he's wondering about. So I think that a lot of this stuff's going to become more normal and voice will be a really native interface and feel more natural than like phone calls to strangers today
I
for.
mean, driving it definitely is an amazing example of where, like, obviously you can't be texting while you're driving. So, amazing example of using voice interface. I mean, just today I was driving back from the gym and I literally had ChatGPT on my phone mounted on the voice mode, the conversation mode. I'm just dictating to it my workout. I was like, I did this, I did this, I did this, these sets, these reps. I went on the treadmill, I did this. And I was like, just format all of that into a summary for me. And then the next thing that I wanted to do was have that use an MCP to call out to like a local, like, or to a service or something and just store all that stuff in a database so that I can collect it later if I wanted to go back and reference, like, what did I do on this day or this weight or whatever. So I could definitely see how like voice agents in that way could be extremely usable or useful and honestly pretty quickly adopted. So, but the question is like, are you a person who wants to just like listen to music and vibe while you're driving, or do you want to like constantly learn?
No, you got to be learning all the time. You're a
Yeah,
developer, right?
we're in like the greatest race in the history of mankind. You got to be learning 24/7 right now. Like
Yeah.
this is a huge race. You know, We're tool calling away from you being able to create your own fitness agent and be able to call in on your way home, and then the tool calls can go to whatever API that you want and save it.
Yep. And I
That's
mean, for me personally, I'm like, "Hey, I want this." And back in the day, like 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever you wanna call it, before ChatGPT came out, I would have said, "Well, that would be a cool side project, but I don't have any time to build that." And now I can use, like, Vibe Tunnel and have it set up so that when I'm sitting down in my living room watching a TV show, I can just keep prompting it on my phone to build out the fitness app that I want, right? And, I don't even know what code it wrote. I'm just like, did it work or not? And I'm like, write tests and then fix your thing. And then I just start using it. And it's just like, I didn't even look at this code base. Just all I care about is that it records my thing into a SQLite file. That's it.
Brian, that example is one of the ones where I love the voice to text because if I'm making something like that I don't really care about the code, I'll just be telling Claude, "Oh wait, no, the menu bar should be higher. Oh wait, no, more padding here. Oh, I don't like that color." Like, I just talk to it really
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a big Replit phone user. So if I'm ever like, I've been trying to redirect my scrolling to either
Mm.
like, all right, let's just build something random or talk to ChatGPT, try to learn something instead of the doom scrolling. I haven't been super successful, but it's getting there.
Yeah. Have either of you used like Vibe Tunnel before?
I use Vibe Tunnel now.
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially just like it. So it's actually one of the. I think it's his name is Pete. I can't remember his last name, but he is on the Claude Code leaderboard for like how much he has spent on that subscription. It's in the like tens of thousands of dollars that he's paid. Only paying $200 a month, but spending ten thousands of dollars in API credits. But he essentially built an application that uses Tailscale to connect locally from like your various devices, and you're essentially just accessing a terminal on your phone so that you can be right in your MacBook or Linux computer and just keep, writing commands, interacting with like Claude Code CLI or Gemini CLI or Codex CLI or whatever it is. Though I don't know, I don't really use the other ones. I just use Claude Code, but yeah.
So
So
I've seen a lot of people making those, but I just don't understand the value add for those services because I have the same thing set up. I SSH, Tailscale, and use Termix, and I get right into Cloud Code and I can do everything on whatever computer I want to use. What more is that one doing for you than if you
it
just
might
did
not
that?
be. It might not be doing anything. Like, I think there's just some specific things that are around like managing sessions and Git work trees, so that you can basically have multiple things going at once and prompting it. So I think that's the biggest advantage. But
You
It's also
can in Termix, what I've been really impressed with is you can have multiple sessions open and it keeps a live activity going and everything. So like I close it and the activity's still running whatever session and I can jump back in.
yeah, same thing with Vibe Tunnel. You're managing multiple sessions and hopping in and out of them, doing whatever you want to do just from your phone. So
Yeah.
yeah. Well, okay. So, anyways, to get us back on topic, so you're working on Alchemine, like, I guess, at night, right? And then you're working at Reddit during the day. So,
yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Algorithm's very
talk about
much
like what you're doing there.
Yeah, Alchemind's very much like a bootstrap side project. I don't know. My mind goes so fast that I've found that if I have a full time gig plus something I'm working on the side, it kind of like levels me out. I don't know. That's maybe a personal problem, but like, I guess I'm just super excited and encouraged about where we're going with engineering and development specifically. And I know that all of us have many years of experience, and I don't think I've ever been more excited about the trade than I am now. So yeah, I've definitely been burning it at both ends. At Reddit, I work on a team called the Developer Platform Team, and a lot of folks haven't heard of this team, but you can build games and immersive experiences on Reddit, and people play them. And there's a lot of experiences out there now. I built one called Hot and Cold, for example. It's a game where you try to guess the secret word based on the semantic meaning of the word. So if the secret word was car and you guess tire, you'd actually be really close. If you guess banana, you'd be kind
Mm.
of far, which is came with its own like struggles because word models are really hard because the semantic meaning varies so much and there's a lot of collocation problems. So that's like been a pet project for like 6 months. But we just like updated it the past week. And it's open source too. And a lot of the work that the development platform team does is open source as well. So I can talk about some of the things that we've been building, some of our recent releases, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that would be dope.
Yeah, I have one that I'm very interested in because just last night I used part of it, and I know you mentioned before this call that you're not on that exact team, but I thought you might find it interesting what I was doing. I got a graphics card and I was curious about what you could overclock it at. And so I searched Reddit for the card and I never saw before. I noticed that it had this AI response and it was like, oh, here's what most people like seem to recommend for what settings you could use. I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, yeah, if you haven't tried it yet, Reddit Answers is really cool. I've started to use it more and more. Of course, like I work there, so I'm very biased, but yeah, it's really interesting and you can get pretty good results. And I was surprised that you can actually get like pretty like recently posted results too for things that you ask about.
Also, it's not always real time. Like if someone posts the last few days, it might not be in there.
Well, that's probably true for LLMs and other, with the knowledge cutoffs. I'm not sure what the Reddit answers is, but when I've just used it, off work hours for regular, you know, I need some like household item. What's the best one? It's been pretty recent.
Nice. So what type of AI things is your team doing?
So since we're trying to empower more developers to build experiences on Reddit. So like both of you, if you want to build a cool game on Reddit, like please do and send me DMs. I'll help you out and give you any support that you need. So specifically like what I've been responsible for trying to build better tools to enable developers to do things. So for example, we have this thing called like the dev MC, and it's an MCP server that right now there's only two commands, but I think it's really cool. The first is that it tokenizes all of our docs and chunks them so that
Mm.
you can plug that in the Claude code or something else. So if you do like our LLM's full TXT file, you'll blow out your context, it'll pollute it. You're not going to get great results probably. But the MCP will give you like very specific results and your agent can call it specifically for what you're looking for. Because the dev platform's like this full stack thing. Like you don't host your code yourself, host it for you. We have our own cloud. Authentication's handled on your behalf. Your data store is handled by us. It goes over Redis. So there's like a whole ecosystem of specific SDKs and tools. So the MCP is really, really nice. And just recently we released something called Devit Web, where you can use native web APIs and a node server, and you can build Three.js apps and deploy them on reddit.com. You can build Phaser, you can use React. Anything that works on the web just about will work on the platform, and it's super, super fun.
Mm.
I will probably like build a lot more apps now that we have like all these web APIs available to us.
Does that come on the mobile app as well? I just pulled it up. I didn't see any games thing. I must have missed it.
Yeah, yeah. So the entry points are right now. What I would recommend if you wanted to build one is to create your own subreddit around it. So like if you're on the app, try something like Flappy Goose. There's an entire community that's built around this game called Flappy Goose that has a map maker. So you could make your own like Flappy Goose levels. And some of the levels are hilarious. And the community's been incredibly creative. Like there was one level where you have like these little bouncy blocks and they could play musical notes. And someone literally played Rickroll. Like all you just press play. You don't have to flap. You don't have to do anything, but it'll play Rickroll to you. And then you finish. And there's like there's so many like weird, emergent, and fun experiences that the community of Reddit will create as long as you give them the tools. So that's kind of like what I want my next game to be, is something that creates or gives the community the power to create stuff. One that's I've been playing with is some physics-based game. So I grew up when I was in college, I played Cut the Rope religiously. I beat every single level of Cut the Rope. And I want something like that because since it does work on web, Android, iOS out of the box, like the amount of engagement that you can have, being able just to tap or just swipe is a really nice gesture. And there's a focus mode, so you get the whole screen if they click play, which is really nice.
Mm.
So wait, how do I play one of these on the mobile app? Can you guide me to one that has it?
Yeah. Yeah. Go to just search in the search bar for Flappy Goose, and you should see like
Okay,
a r
that
slash.
subreddit.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm on the subreddit. And now how do you play?
just tap on any of the posts. It'll
Oh,
pull.
like this one says trust me. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I've never
it's
seen this
all user
before in the
generated
app.
content. So the community is built like an
Wow,
entire
yeah, this is neat. I can
following.
see. You're trying to make almost like this is almost like TikTok, but for games and really drive a lot of engagement. I could see this being huge. How
Yeah,
long has that been a thing?
the team's been around for. I've been on the team for nearly 2 years.
Wow, and I never knew this existed. I use Reddit a lot.
Yeah, I always tell people it's like the best kept secret on the internet, and I've sort of like even buried the lead again, to even like talking to y'all. Not only like is it free hosting and like you have all these distribution mediums through Reddit itself, like there's also a developer incentives program where you could make up to $116,000 depending on the how engaging your app
Oh,
is. And that's advertised on our docs. If you go to developers.reddit.com, you'll see that like you can read about the incentive program. You can see all like the capabilities and things that you can do. You get the entire Reddit API. So it's really interesting. And it's like it's incredibly fun to work on. So it's been a big learning experience too, because building developer tools and being a consumer of the developer tools is like two totally different brains. And
yeah, yeah.
in my head, like I've consumed many APIs. If there's a web framework, I've tried it. But
You
build
guys really took
is like
gamification literally with this.
yeah, no, it's pretty addictive. I'll find myself playing off work hours, like just playing for fun. And
Yeah.
and Flappy Goose it wasn't made by Reddit. It was made by a third party developer. So if you're interested, like there's a Discord that you can hop into, and there's a good amount of developers in there working on like really fun and compelling things.
Yeah.
Speaking of Discord, I've seen when I scroll Reddit sometimes that there's these chats and wants you to join chat rooms. Are you trying to do like take over Discord's market as well on Reddit?
I can't comment on that at all. It's a big team.
Okay.
Well, it's a big team, so like I don't
Yeah.
on the team that is responsible for that feature.
I mean, what I love about what you're describing about this games feature, right, is that you have like essentially a built-in community aspect through Reddit, through a subreddit, right, around the game. It's almost like you're taking like modding communities that would take like a really popular game like Stardew Valley or something, and they're like, okay, yeah, now we're gonna mod it, we're gonna add new characters or new map levels or change things around and how the game works. But instead, you're kind of just opening that up to the entire community. You don't have to even mod it because it's just kind of built into the system that it is extendable and like new people can just come in and contribute and create things and all work together to kind of like build up the game, build up levels, things like that. And that seems like it could be extremely cool from just like like an open community aspect in terms of like gaming together.
Yeah, I think there's room for a lot of novel and new gaming experiences to happen, especially because the conversation aspect is already core to Reddit and built in, and everyone already understands it. Like everyone knows to go to the comments, and that's what I would say is like been the most interesting part about like building on the platform myself with the game like Hot and Cold is I've built mini games before. Like I'm sure y'all like remember maybe the Game of Thrones death pool thing that I did for the last seasons of Game of Thrones and that kind of stuff. But it was always hard to market it and get an audience. Like you get feedback, like you get really honest and thoughtful feedback on your game. Like if you go to the most recent post for Hot and Cold, this week, I launched a new word model and did like a ground up rewrite because the performance was horrible and it barely worked, which is all completely my fault because I vibe coded the first time and I vibe coded the second time, but I had GPT-5 the second time and it worked much better. Uh, but like you'll see that like people have written like paragraphs of really thoughtful feedback, but also helped me learn more about AI and word models. Like they're commenting on it like, hey, like I think that you need to think about your limitization a little bit more, or maybe you should just remove it
Mm,
altogether because of XYZ. So it's just really cool to be able to build something kind of in public, but actually get comments.
mm,
Which I've sort of tried to do more on X for like the past 6 months, but I've noticed that it's like very hit or miss on like if I'll get 20 people that view it, or I'll get like 30,000. And I'm like, okay, well,
mm.
I would settle just for like a nice 750 each time and one or two comments.
Yeah.
For Hot and Cold, it's been really fun because like the feedback changed overnight after I released a new version because everyone reports the bugs. I love to take screenshots. They're super helpful. So if you want to build a really compelling experience, like the community wants to help you make it better. So it's really rare.
Sounds like there could be like
Anywhere else.
it sounds like there could be developer tooling around like analyzing the comment section to gather like to basically just summarize up, gather feedback, bug reports, things like that to help the developer like continue to iterate on the game too.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
It
the whole
depends on
process.
how big, your comment section is, I guess.
Well, like some of like the Flag People's comments threads are massive. And again,
Yeah.
there's more games than that's pretty popular and people play often. But yeah, you can also build moderator tools as well. So you could build games or not games like experiences or tools with some utility to help make moderating easier, to analyze all the comments for sentiment. Like you have a lot of flexibility and tools at your disposal.
So meta.
Is there any integration with like the VO or the Genie models from Google where you can like develop like 3D worlds and like things like that?
Oh, I really want that to be possible. Not that I know of yet, but I don't even actually I can't even personally get access to the Genie models. Because in the
Mm.
next year, people are telling me that all the games are going to be generated on the fly and we would play them. I'm like, okay, well, I see a demo. Let me try right now. And I think the only person I've seen that I think maybe got access was like Peter Levels. I'm like, okay,
Mm.
well, I'm not Peter Levels, so I guess I'm not going to get access until Genie 4. I'll get access to Genie 3, but by the time I get access to Genie 3, I'll want Genie 4. So I don't know. I really want to be able to play with these tools because it's evolving so quickly that, it's a sweet demo. I'm not trying to take away from what that team built. I'm sure it was incredibly hard.
Yeah.
I want to play.
Yeah. So like given all the stuff that's happening with AI, like how do you keep up with it all? I mean, you say that like, you're a person who wants to constantly keep their brain engaged and, you enjoy that as it is, but like where do you go to like find that stuff?
Yeah, Reddit has some subreddits that are pretty knowledgeable, and I don't know, my feed just kind of recommends me to them. But I also go to X for a ton of stuff. Like specifically, like I follow y'all, and y'all have like a lot of really cool tools. Like I haven't heard of Vibe Tunnel before this call. I'm gonna go try it tonight, and things like that. But also for a specific community that's like, all right, well, who can I just follow? The repo prompt has like this community of what I would call like AI artisans and context engineers that I've found to be the best, most honest feedback on where things are specifically for development, for like developer tools. So if you want to code, following a couple people that are active around repo prompt to just shout out repo prompt, I found to have like the best possible alpha and advice for building. So yeah, I kind of just live on X, try to keep up with it all, try to be super open minded and optimistic about the tools and not
Mm.
have like an aversion to trying new things all the time. Of course, I have my like hot takes. I have these really weird opinions about some tools that I don't think are as good for me personally, but other people absolutely love. But I think it really depends on like what you're doing coding. Like it's not even language contingent. It's like what part are you doing of the stack? What kind of feature are you
Mm.
working on? And certain models are better than others.
Yeah. I've definitely found that like compared to about a year ago, I found that it was hard for me to commit $40 to a Cursor subscription, like Cursor Pro, but I did it and I was like, okay, whatever, it's expensive, but I'm going to do it. I find today that like there are so many advances happening in so many areas and I just want to play with all of it that I've just like moved a lot of my entertainment budget to just be like, okay, it's this AI tools budget. I used to have this aversion to like, I don't even want to, use an API key because I'm like, well, what if it just charges me like $30 randomly for a prompt? Like that would suck. But, now I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to just set up the key. I'm going to have a usage limit on it for like what I think is reasonable or within my budget. And I'm just going to play with it and enjoy and learn and stuff as I go along. Yeah.
Wait, now you gotta tell us what all are you subscribed to right now for this
God.
month, and
Do
how
we have
So,
much
enough
is each
yeah.
time?
one?
Yeah, I mean, the basic things are like ChatGPT Plus. I've got the Claude Code $200 a month, 20x or whatever, but that's going to be changing very soon. End of August, their like new limits go in place. And so I don't know how that's going to affect like my ability to continue to use Claude Code. But yeah, OpenAI API key. I'm trying to work myself from like tier 2 to tier 3 usage limits because I found that when I'm using repo prompt and I'm trying to like do things like the context builder, I'm literally running into rate limits. Like I just can't use the API enough or given like the current, I guess, my current spend on the platform. So I'm almost incentivized right now to spend more money with OpenAI so that they'll like increase my limit and stuff. But yeah, I've honestly found myself using the Gemini models a lot more because they have more broad rate limits for earlier like users. And honestly, like their flash models and stuff can take such higher requests and tokens. So yeah, but um I don't know, repo prompt, right? That's a subscription, for sure. So yeah, there's like just a ton of things. When I see stuff, I'm not afraid to try it. But I think the best advice is never buy an annual subscription because this stuff is changing so quickly. Like just pay for the monthly. It's gonna be more money, but just try something out for a month, see if you like it. Keep it if you want it. If it's not working, then drop it. So
Yeah.
I go ahead, Marcus.
Yeah. I mean, I guess all I was going to say is I've got this like tweet thread that I've been like working on for a week or two. I don't know if I'm going to like launch it or not about how this is like the best asymmetric information advantage anyone in recorded history has ever had, in my opinion. Then like there isn't a single thing that's kind of out of reach to learn now. And it's kind of like a crazy thing to say, not only just in coding, which I know is what we do a lot of, but any trade, anything. And buying these tools, I know it seems like really expensive, but it's like a discount on your future. Like let's say that you pay $200 for ChatGPT Pro. Well, I can tell you that like GPT-5 Pro is really good. It's probably the best thing out there.
mhm.
And it'll probably save you $1 or $2. And your future self will thank you for like the 6 hours that you would have spent bug solving instead of Claude Code. So I'm like an advocate for spending, not every single dollar you have, but like spending more and thinking about it differently just because it's such an investment. Think about like how much other things cost. And then like, well, for a $20 subscription, you can get nearly a PhD of every subject in your pocket. Of course, there's a huge number of asterisks beyond that statement, but the point still stands that like if you're curious, you can learn a lot of things, and it can meet you where you are at your learning level. It really has never been a tool that can do that. Like you can meet me where I am in any language. I mostly use TypeScript, but I've been touching Go a little bit more, and I've been forced to write more Python because of AI tools. And it's been cool to learn like the nuances of these languages, but you know, get started where your current level is.
I mean, it's very true, and I on that.
I love that aspect of it as well. I've been using the research mode on Claude so much for so many random things, and I love that I can dive into really specific things that I could not possibly like Google for and find something on, and it could at least talk to me about it. And I know enough to know sort of, oh, is it hallucinating or should I find a better source? And even things that aren't coding, like I had a friend recently, his AC was having a problem. It was having way too much condensation. So I asked Claude, run a research report on this brand. Is condensation like a big issue with this brand? It gave me this whole report, so that's not a common issue with it. And it gave me some suggestions. Sure enough, one of those suggestions was the reason that it was doing that. So it's very cool to be able to learn all kinds of other subjects that I don't really know about.
Yeah, it truly is amazing for it. So
If you guys want, we could wrap it up unless you guys have any specific topics since we're at an hour now.
yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I appreciate having me on.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
I
was
mean, thanks,
super
Marcus, for
interesting.
telling us
Yeah.
everything about Reddit, all these things I didn't even know
I need
about
to
it.
try out
And
gaming on Reddit tonight. Like that's what I've learned. And I really like I truly like hope that Alchemine, sorry, continues to progress because I want to tell people about it, And I want them to be able to use it. So yeah. You guys, like one last question on Alchemine though. Are you planning on doing like an intercom style widget that you can embed on like your own business website?
Yeah, it's totally doable. So the actual branded link that you use, that we give you for free,
Right.
that's built on top of a web SDK. So
Okay.
the web SDK is published to NPM. You could consume it yourself. We'll probably have a managed experience. So all these entry points, we focus specifically on just like a managed one for web and phone because we're not sure where things will go. And
thanks for listening to the Zach Codes podcast. I hope to be back soon with a couple more episodes around AI and other cool topics.